future soft skills is something that is very often for years not taught at the university level, training or workshop, that you have to actually apply certain skills.
We had together in our school workshop about what was it, like awareness and positive thinking in a work environment, resilience training.
Brilliant. Oh, do you remember any exercises?
For example, was like positive gossip. One person turned around and other two or three people talked about this person, but something positive, like, oh my gosh, she's always so smart, like, oh my god. But like saying something positive, because we're used to gossip like badly about a person, and it was the case that you actually heard what other people told about you, and you maybe became more confident. And it can be applied also in the work field, because you're more confident to say what you can do.
Absolutely. And you said something amazing here. It will make you feel more comfortable to do that in a new settings, let's say work settings. So one thing the research defined is, as I mentioned before, knowledge is only 2 to 4% action. So you probably know most of those things. The key question is, do you practice them? Because happens that we know, and I'll be talking about different settings here, but let's say you come to interview, you know how to answer the questions, but when you come, emotions coming in, and you behave differently, you're not confident as much, you're not so calm, and you forget, you stumble, you mix, and then you say, I could do that better. And you probably could. That's why the element of practice is so important in relation to skills. And now employers notice that they can teach you any kind of type of hard skill. You can take a course in programming, they can help you that, but they cannot teach you about your mindset, about the values. You come with those already to them. And the key thing is how to express them the right way, or what other skills they see are important, then just know things that they discover they're wasting a lot of time and frustration and money, because people go away because they feel frustrated at work, and then they can't train you properly. So this is all about to bring you the skills and the knowledge of, let's say, the CEO who has 20 years of experience, lots of money for trainings, so he trains the communication, he trains how to be confident, he trains how to speak in public, but he learned that over the years with a sweat and frustration. And the idea is, and I show you who's my inspiration for that, to bring those skills to you when you start your career at the doorstep, when you start interview process, when you can negotiate your salary at the start, when you can create your success factors, when you consciously design your career strategy. When you start enjoying work from the day one, when all the frustration goes away. Well, there's always something, but the key thing is, the best way is to learn by opening the doors to the future skills and apply them into practice. So that's why this program was created. Utah State University. American university is very much focused on progressive skills. And I work with them and I coach their students, and within the 3-4 times of the program that we ran with them, I will show you the results. Simon Sinek is a leadership expert.
In America?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
he wrote the book Start With Why.
yeah.
And
yeah.
he is actually a great inspiration for new type of leaders. And let's listen to him in a few seconds. What he says actually, the young professionals you actually need in the future.
One of the big struggles that this young generation, Gen Y and Gen Z, are struggling with is they're ill-equipped with the skills required for being a successful human being. That there's a generation, unfortunately, there are too many of them who literally aren't learning the skills of how to talk to people. Difficult conversations is one of the things you have to have. I will approach you and give you difficult feedback that everybody knows, but everybody's afraid to tell you so that you can grow as a human being. I will do that. We have to teach listening, effective communication, how to give and receive feedback, how to have difficult conversations. The future of leadership is not looking good. And unfortunately, the responsibility now falls on the company because we didn't do it in school and we didn't do it in university. We definitely didn't do it at business school. So when are we going to do it?
Usually people find out when they come to a workplace that you actually require to have those skills. And I want to show you just in 59 seconds what actually Utah State University, by going through that program, feel about their results.
Literally amazing how much I've grown. I learned so much about self-awareness. Man, like that has changed my life.
Valuable for sure for me was confidence.
Well, what are your priorities? What do you value? What are these kind of like strategic, high-level, personal items?
Awesome, because there was this commitment of excellence around it, but there was still the flexibility and learning style to make mistakes but grow and ask questions.
It helped me to improve my abilities and learn new skills.
I had the opportunity to discover myself, to discover a lot of hidden skills that I didn't know that I have.
The experience with Kristof was definitely crucial to get my job at that time.
What I really like a lot is their philosophy. They think about the happiness.
These experiences were the best of my life.
It's just for you to be aware that on your own, you'll be able to focus on those skills, really opening the doors on a much higher level for professionals like you. To give you an example, there was one graduate who wanted to get into project management, and his mother was experienced career strategist. So for 6 months they were working on a proposal in a specific company. He analyzed the competitors, he created a book of solutions, how they can grow. And what happened is, not only they accept him for the position they didn't have, he started as a junior executive. So how thinking outside the box can position you in much better place than going with the stream and then learning by own mistakes. So, of course, we won't talk about all of them because we have to spend a week here. We're just gonna focus a little bit on the one I've highlighted. There are central fundamentals that we need to know in relation to ourselves as people and also ourselves as a professional in order to thrive. Purpose, motivation, awareness, and problem solving. We're going to mention about that. We're going to talk about communication and why sales, now very often called influence, is very important even if you're not a salesperson. So step one. Anyone knows how is to feel when you start complain, blame, or judge? How does it make you feel when you do the action? Exactly, makes you feel bad. It brings negative energy. And one of the things that I studied for a while a lot is neurolinguistic programming. The language we use brings certain energy in us. And that is so important that we come from a positive energy. We need to be curious about other person. Look, if you think for a moment about someone you don't like and you make a judgment on them and suddenly you change your mindset and you start to be curious why this person is really like that. How does it change the perception? How does it change the emotions? And here is for you to be masters of your emotional state. And as Tony Robbins said, where the focus goes, energy flows. So does anyone had a case when something happened in their life and there was so much focus all the time? Let's say you have a song and at that time you were in love. Every time, let's say you're not with that person, 5 years or 3 years later, you listen to the song, but you have those feelings. The key thing is that you consciously create emotions to the specific situation. It's called anchoring. You anchor an emotion to a specific situation. So let's say on interview, you want to be confident. What are top professionals doing? They're thinking intensively about your best moment, and they create a gesture. Usually it's kinesthetic gesture. You see sometimes in the movies, someone say, yes, I've done it. And then they repeat that. The energy, they try to go back to that energy. That's why from neuro-linguistic programming point of view, if you want to be happy, you just think about happy moment. Makes you feel great. That's where your focus is. If you want to feel sad, you focus on the sad moment. But the key thing is, they practice that. The top professionals practice association certain emotional states with certain gestures. Have you seen the movie The Wolf of the Wall Street? I did his course on sales, and he said that before the key meetings, he used a sense of lemon. He put lemon to his hands, and that empowered him, put him in a totally different state, because sense of smell is one of the strongest ones. Those people have techniques and tools to be ahead. So imagine you go for an interview, or you have to do a presentation. You have a gesture that brings you, wow, in my state, in your best. Do you know your values?
Honesty, but sometimes it doesn't have to be oral.
Anyone else? Fantastic. Did you ever make a list of your values before, written down? So imagine now the new companies, for them it's very important your values. That's why on their websites they put lists of values. And when you come to an interview, you need to make sure that your values match their values. If they don't, you'll be very miserable working for this company. So that's why it's so important they put much more attention. Do you know your values by heart? Because you make your decision based on what you feel deeply there inside, and there are your values. So if you don't know them, you make a decision based on the most important things that you're not even aware of. So first thing is be aware of yourself. And one of the things is to know your values. Now, what other great professionals do is they design their strategy. They set a certain direction towards their career. And that is very important. Depends on when you want to work. If you want to work IKEA, you need to expect certain ways or values, traits that they're looking for. Tony Robbins said, if you don't know your purpose, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, like everything in the world is dying. So we as a human beings, we need to know how we can contribute. And one of the things is when you go to interview and you're thinking, oh, I'm not confident enough, because you probably don't know what you want to do. You know, you need to make that leap of faith, the decision, this is what I want to do. And if you want to find your why, Simon Sinek has an amazing book called How to Find Your Why. Like exactly find your why. And he explains the process for companies, for individuals, professionals, and also for teams. And let's say you're lost in life. You write your vision, you come back, this is what I want to do. You're always on track. You have something to come back to. The focus is not only relates to your emotions, it also relates to your direction in life. As more focused you are, let's say on your studying, as better results you get. There's no magic there. The key thing is how to implement that in your life. And top professionals are actually starting from basics. They know themselves first. They set up their vision, and that's why they achieve great success. And the other thing is, I mentioned, if you're not growing, you're actually going backwards, because the world is going forward. And that's an interesting study, and how our brain is powerful. And in this study, Alvaro had one group that practiced for 2 weeks, piano actually, and the other group just visualized that for 2 weeks. The brain growth at the same time, create the same neural connections. Of course, he suggests to do both, because then you have much better effects. But if you visualize something intensive enough, so you have your purpose, you visualize that you succeed, you programming your subconscious to make you every action in your life to achieve that specific purpose. You have to be aware about yourself, where you are at the moment. Okay, I'm a student at this point. These are skills I'm lacking in. These are skills I would like to improve. And that's so simple. But the key thing is we need to write it down. We need to, our head, as David Allen said, a creator of Getting Things Done, great, fantastic system. He said, our brain is not for storage, it's for creation, for creative ideas. We shouldn't remember things. We should just put that into the medium, and our brain is just to create. And another thing is, he said, close open loops. So for example, if you have many decisions in your life, and it can be a simple decision. Let's say, I didn't clean the garage. And you pass that garage for a week or two, you create so-called open loop with a decision. And you have many of those small decisions. You create a connection in your brain, message. When you make a decision, you will not follow through. So what he says, close the open loop. Say, I clean that garage in a month's time, or I'll never clean it. But you make a decision, you clean your brain, so you say exactly what I do, the results will come after. Otherwise, you're programming yourself for failure. Confidence is not something we can do this in one exercise. It's a holistic thing. If you know what you want to do, first thing, you're much more confident. You know your values, you're much more confident. You start practicing on your weaknesses. You start practicing, not just knowing, practicing this communication with others. And you practice first in safe environment, and then you practice in a new environment. And that's how it goes. You build your confidence holistically. As more you know, as more confidence you are, as more you practice, it actually accelerates and boosts that. One of my favorite subjects, communication. Now, there are two types of communication I want to talk about. The one we know. We talk to each other. But what about the communication you talk with yourself? That's the first step when you think about your communication you need to be aware of. How am I talking to myself? So if you start thinking about the language I think about myself, and you notice there's something that you wouldn't like to even say to your friend, so badly you think about yourself, that is a sign for a change. And then we have external communication. Now, anyone tell me how much they're responsible for outcome of that communication, percentage-wise? Any ideas?
80 or 70.
Any other ideas?
50-50.
That's usual guess, yes. 100%, 100%. And you know why? Because if you're 50-50, the scientist says that you come out from the conversation with an excuse. I did my best, but the other person wasn't this and that. But if you're 100%, you say, what can I do better so the other person can understand me better? You see the shift of the mindset and approach? You take 100% ownership. So you take, I'll take responsibility to build that better. And imagine both of them will do that. How greatly and quickly they can improve in that communication. So that's the new movement towards take the responsibility for the communication. Then we have development strategies, anything that helps you to arrive to your goal. And anyone heard about Robert Greene?
Oh yeah, definitely.
He is really good. Which book did you read? Or
Perfect, 48 Laws.
yes.
And I also have Human Nature.
Brilliant. Is there any major things that you do that caught your attention, you remember, or?
I really like the book Perfect, and I would really recommend it because there are different scenarios from people's life. Like there was one girl who couldn't really speak, and she wanted to study something, and she couldn't grasp things fast enough, and then she started from zero and made it through.
Absolutely, he brings amazing stories. One of the things he said in his books is, there's no shortcut to success, but maybe there's one thing that speed up your career, is a mentorship. Is the right mentor who tells you, listen, in this area, save time, don't do this, do that. And that's the only way, he said, if you want to really speed up with your career, find yourself a great mentor. Leadership and teamwork, Simon Sinek. Great book, we talk about Find Your Why, but let's start with why, or Leaders Eat Last. It will really open a great door for leadership for you. And remember, and it's about natural leadership, because authority is not leadership. When you come to a new work, how to build your natural leadership? You know what you want, you know your values, your interest in a specific field, and you share that with others, you help them, you become the outstanding and perfect or mastery from Robert Greene show. When you're doing something, you're doing 100%, he said, or don't do it at all. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you give yourself 100%. People will notice and people will follow you. You change the dynamic of the team and people you work with. Emotional intelligence, it's mostly focused on how you manage your emotions within yourself, but also in a social context, and especially in corporations. How when you're presenting to someone, how are you dealing with teams, another important thing. So you see how things coming together. You need to be aware, you need to manage your emotions in order to convey the message the best way, connect with the people best way. When you have other things sorted, you can think how to be more efficient and effective. I mentioned getting things done by David Allen, but there are other great systems that you can use. Tony Robbins has a great system, Time of Your Life, when he shows you how you focus on the outcomes. Before you start doing anything, he asks, what do you try to achieve? We don't ask ourselves questions, we just go do it. And then we are so busy in our life, but we don't get the results we want because we don't ask all the time, what is our outcome? And the last for today, sales. Whether you're in sales, any other context that you need to convince anyone, influence, first make sure that you love the idea, that you're convinced that this will work, that you're convinced that it's great for others. Because if you're not convinced, how you want to convince others? That is the first thing. If you want to do something, make sure it's something that really resonates with you. The last tip for today I want to give about how you can negotiate your salary. It doesn't mean you can't negotiate your salary with your first job, but you need to ask for this. People don't ask, or they ask the wrong way. Negotiations about your job conditions, it's not only about money. So let's say now you want to have more flexibility. You want to have more holidays. You can negotiate those terms with the employers when they offer you the position. You have to show what you bring to the table in exchange. Now, when you are employed, you have to have certain success factors. So when you start, the first thing should be, how can I succeed in this company? What are the success metrics? And what happens is, your boss will tell you exactly what to do to be successful. You follow the metrics and you make sure that in their interest is your success, because they hired you, they want you to succeed. And when you follow those metrics, you'll be able to open a door for negotiations. And if you show extra value all the time, it's not just the job you do. You show extra value, you show reasons for extra salary, for promotion. You have to practice how you talk about salary negotiations. But that's another thing. You have to be aware that you don't have to take what they put to the table. You have a value, you can show that, and you can get the return for your value. And how you need to be prepared to think outside the box. Interesting way to get the job, isn't it? So you have to be ready to sometimes open up yourself for unexpected. And knowing yourself is the way to do that. I hope at least I mentioned about something you didn't know before, something maybe that caught your attention, something that you might think when you're moving into corporate world. And I hope that will help you in a way to achieve better results. Thank you very much.
Thank you.